choice, more variety. Over 3,000 different worldwide cities tune in every week. Right here, right now.
Music to your ears.
Good morning, you're listening to me, Michael Sopp. This is Liskeard and Looe Radio, live from our studio in Liskeard. And this morning I am joined in the studio by the lovely Kim Spencer, Vice Chair of Sector, which is the South East Cornwall Tourism Association. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Mike.
What is Sector?
So Sector is the South East Cornwall Tourism Association. We've been in existence for over 50 years, originally called the Looe Hoteliers Association. And Sector is an association run by members for members. So it's the kind of place where you could get help and advice, information, support if you're in the tourism industry, and that's the whole range of tourism businesses. So not just furnished holiday lets, but hotels, bed and breakfasts, and also what we call the secondary and tertiary suppliers. So people like cleaning companies, painters, decorators, anybody really who has something to do with the tourism industry. Sector membership is free, completely free, and if you're a supplier, you can advertise on the Facebook page whenever you want. So you can tell us about your services, things that you offer.
And just to clarify, you don't run a website, you run just off a Facebook page.
We run just off of Facebook because we've found that we can be much more responsive to the various changing needs of the industry. So often, and particularly at the moment, legislation comes out. We want to get that information to our members as quickly as possible.
And the name of that Facebook page?
It's just the Sector Facebook page.
Yeah.
You just type in Sector and you will find us. It's a closed Facebook page. At the moment, Sector has over 550 members.
Yeah.
So we are the largest association, I'm pretty confident to say that, the largest association in Cornwall and probably in the southwest.
Okay, great. Now, we've spoken before and you've come out with a wonderful little phrase, any head on a bed. Can you explain that one to me?
So the reason that I use that phrase is because the legislation, the requirements apply even if you offer a head on a bed just for one night. So, for example, we have a lot of different sorts of accommodation within Cornwall. We've got the traditional hotels and bed and breakfasts, very important for the industry. We also have caravan parks, lodges, yurts. We have glamping, of course. If you offer a head on a bed, so if you have your property, your own house, you move out for 6 weeks and go somewhere else and decide to let it, then those requirements apply to you for that 6 weeks. So all the same things that apply to furnished holiday accommodation that's running all year round apply to you for those 6 weeks.
I mean, this is there's going to be a lot of red tape. There's a lot of information that people need to know. What's brought about the new regulations?
So the fire safety regulations, really they've been talked about for a long time. There's been fire safety. We all remember in the past for hotels, the old fire certificates, used to walk in the door and see them and by the door. But because there's been really an exponential growth in furnished holiday lets, which, I mean, since, the 2000s, these have just, in Cornwall and across the country, have grown exponentially. We needed something which was modernised and brought in really to apply just to those settings. Is
that because the types of holiday accommodations has diversified as well? It's grown.
Absolutely, it's the diversification. We all remember going on holiday, or certainly I do, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, where you went and stayed in a small hotel or maybe a bed and breakfast, maybe on a caravan site or a site with lodges. Now those are still there, but we have this huge growth in basically furnished holiday lets, which are houses, cottages, that kind of thing.
So, and this is legislation that is in now?
Yes, it is. So the legislation, particularly in relation to the fire safety, which is the one that you and I have spoken about on a number of occasions, that is in now.
Okay, so I'll come back on about all the new regs in a bit, but you've mentioned fire safety. Now, I am aware, I was trying to get you in for an interview a little bit sooner, but as things are, I'm aware that you've been or ran a couple of sessions recently, free sessions on the fire safety regs.
That's right. So in March 2023, the government published the guidance for fire safety in small guest accommodation. It then became in force in October 2023, so it's been in for over a year now, and that was really wide-ranging across the industry. So, for example, the kind of things you have to do, that you start off with a written fire risk assessment, and that's something you either do yourself if you feel competent and able to do it, because you as the owner of the business are the responsible person.
Yep.
If you don't feel competent and able to do it, then you get in a qualified fire risk assessor, and we cover that on the Facebook page, and through sector there's various people that you can employ to do this for you. It all starts with your written fire risk assessment, where you identify the risk, you say how you're going to mitigate it or how you're going to get rid of it. And the kind of mitigation measures we're talking about now are things like hardwired smoke alarms in every room, so that's every bedroom, living room and the hallway. The only rooms you're not putting those in would be in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about thumb turns, keyless exits, so any exit out of the property has got to be keyless, so no more keys in the doors in order to get in and out. There's information there about emergency lighting, and the kind of thing that you would need, it depends entirely on your property. So, for example, a small property might just use rechargeable torches, or the kind of plug-in torches that you can have in your hallway, but larger accommodation might need hardwired lighting in. It talks about carbon monoxide alarms, heat alarms, which you need in the kitchen. And because every premises is different, it's about reading the guidance. I like to tell people to download it as a hard copy, get your highlighter pen out, go through it and highlight all of those things that you need to do for your property, but they should be enforced now. If you're staying in holiday accommodation anywhere in the country, in England rather, or you're staying, or you own one in Cornwall, that's something you should be doing now. And the point of the free sessions really was to sit around a table, to get the guidance out and really go through it line by line, talk about each line, talk about what each property was doing, where people needed help and guidance, telling them where they could go to for additional information, to somewhere like PASC, which is the Professional Association of Self-Caterers, and really just helping people to comply, because it's in all of our interest for all of the accommodation in our area in Cornwall to be up to code.
Okay, so for those that didn't get the chance to come to these meetings, what can they do?
So we are going to run an online session probably before Christmas, and that will be free for sector members, as everything is. We'll put that out on the Facebook page, and if you want to join us, you just join sector and you can join in. We will run more sessions next year, because we are waiting for some more guidance, because the guidance at the moment is for small guest accommodation, and there's new guidance coming in, which we've only just heard about, is actually coming shortly for larger accommodation or open plan accommodation. So we will run more face-to-face sessions, but there will be an online session as well. But as a sector member, my phone number and Sue's phone number, Sue Jewell, the chair, and other sector committee members, you can contact any of us to discuss any of these issues at any time. That's the point of sector. It's run by members, for members. We're there to give help and support.
Now, I believe there's a document called something like How to Make Your Small Guest Accommodations Safe from Fire. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the guidance that people should be following. And you and I talked about that word guidance, because it's often, when you read it, you think, well, guidance, that means I can kind of take it or leave it. It doesn't. The word guidance in this instance, in something issued by the government, means guiding you towards complying with the law. So you can't ignore it. It's there, it's got to be done.
Okay, and also it's probably important that I point out that, as you've said to me earlier, you're not an expert in fire safety or anything like. However, you do know the regulations. I
do. So my background is as an environmental health officer, involved with fire safety, health and safety for well over 20 years. I've also got a special interest in it because of my previous job. So I'm not a fire risk assessor. I can't come out and do your fire risk assessment for you, but I can lead discussions, and I do know where the resources are that people can use. The legislation, the guidance is meant to be for the ordinary business owner to be able to do a risk assessment for themselves, but some properties are complex and some people don't feel confident. That's why you can use a fire risk assessor.
Because one of the things I think is, first and foremost, a lot of people aren't savvy on doing these sort of things. It's more work that's come in, and I can see potentially that people may well not do it, or it might be that they decide, do you know what, this is too much for me, I'm getting out of the business. What are your thoughts on that?
If you run a business, then there's rules and regulations that apply. Anything you do, I'm sure there's rules around running a radio station, there's rules around anything that you do. And if you're going to run a business and you're going to take the money for that business, then you have to comply with that legislation. That's just a given. But what you can do as a business owner is not feel on your own, is to come forward and ask for help and support. Most people, I would say 99% of the people I've spoken to, once they've got into the guidance, realise what it means for them, and how much help and support there is, particularly around things like doors. We didn't talk about fire doors, 30-minute fire doors, but that's another requirement. That's not the big, heavy, self-closing doors, but there's lots of guidance around on doors. Once they get into it, they realise that actually it's pretty straightforward to comply, that it's not the onerous thing they thought. Some people may decide to come out of the business. That's their decision. But at least if they're going out of the business, go out with the full knowledge rather than just panic.
Yeah.
There is no need to panic. That's the point of sector. That's the point of being at the end of the phone to help and support people.
So if it's running around your head and you don't know what to do, and you are concerned and it is just blowing your mind, contact you.
That's right. Ultimately, the fire service in Cornwall has the enforcement role, so that's why the fire service don't come out and do the risk assessments for you, because they can't be both poacher and gamekeeper. You can't have the fire service coming out to do your assessment and then also perhaps taking action against you. They are responding to complaints because guests are becoming savvy about this, and guests are complaining to them, and the fire service will go out and they have served notices and they have taken action. So it's not something people can ignore.
Okay, that's excellent. Now, coming away from the fire safety, now I know you can't go too greatly into this, but tax changes that have come about. What can you tell me on those, or even briefly?
I was dreading you asking me about this, because I have, whilst I'm very good on things like fire safety and the kind of enforcement side of things, the money and the tax kind of passes me by a bit, really. But there are experts within sector, there are people posting regularly about these. Very broadly, at the moment, furnished holiday lets, FHLs, have a very special tax treatment on certain issues. That was mooted by the previous government, and the new government are taking that forward as well. So that now, or going forward, as of next year, furnished holiday lets will be treated the same as assured short hold tenancies, so rental accommodation. We'll be treated in a different way in terms of tax and how we can dispose of those assets. In some ways I've got some sympathy with governments bringing that in, because it does regularise it, and the reason the special treatment originally, I guess, was because there weren't that many furnished holiday lets, and it was okay to have a small industry doing that, but now it's a massive industry. It's grown, it's coming in. We would prefer it not to have come in. Lots of organisations, again like PASC, have been campaigning for it not to come in, because it is a big change, a really big change for industry, but it is coming, and it's just about making sure everyone's aware of it and that they get their affairs in order, that they understand the tax issues for them individually.
You've mentioned PASS. Now, you've also mentioned the Pink Book.
I have. So the Pink Book is almost like the Bible, the go-to bit of information if you're running a furnished holiday let. It's produced by Visit Britain, Visit England in conjunction with PASC, who are the Professional Association of Self-Caterers. It covers the 70 plus pieces of legislation that could apply if you run a furnished holiday let. So the kind of things we're talking about are things like CCTV on your property, even your Ring doorbell. You've got to have signage up, you've got to tell your guests that you've got that. It covers things like general health and safety. It has information on things like your hot tub safety. It covers a whole range of things. Food hygiene, so if you leave a welcome pack, the food hygiene rules apply to you, and then Natasha's law around allergies. If you want an answer, the pink book's there. You could buy a hard copy, but personally I use the online version.
That's what I was going to ask.
As the legislation changes, the online version automatically updates.
So you can't, if you had the book, I suppose you'd have to scribble it out and change
you would.
it.
And at the moment we are going through a period of quite a lot of change for the industry. So I think it's important, not to get daunted. And also on the pink book, what I really like about it is it breaks everything down into little biteable chunks. So you're not reading through reams and reams, you can search, it's got small sections, it talks about things like licensing, all of those things. It's all there, and I love it. I think it's a really, really useful resource. And I would say to anybody who's new to the industry, or maybe even thinking about it, Google Pink Book, download it, read it, and it really gives you a good indication as to what this industry is about.
Okay, I'll ask you a question that we haven't prepared. So is this a case of the law is now getting heavier on the accommodation industry, or is it that the accommodation industry is being brought up to where it should be?
I'd say it's 50-50 on that. I think that there are changes in the law, and they are becoming, the law is becoming a lot tighter on certain things, particularly like the fire safety, which means that people have got to be up to speed, which is where sector really comes into its own, because it does. We post every day on Facebook.
Yeah.
We put something on about something we found or we know about. But I also think that some people fall into the accommodation. So you might, your parents might own a house in Cornwall. You might be Cornwall based yourself. Your parents pass away. You're left with this house, and you think, well, don't really want to sell it at the moment, I'll just put it out. And we commonly talk, or we talked about saying, well, we want it to be an Airbnb. Well, an Airbnb is just an advertising portal. It's actually a furnished holiday let, and people kind of fall into that. Other people start with a second home. They buy it, they think, yes, I'm going to go and visit it every weekend. They then find that they're not visiting it every weekend. They let family use it. Then family don't want to visit all the time. So then they decide, well, actually, we'll charge people to go into it.
Yeah.
So they kind of fall into it. So I don't think, I mean, there's obviously going to be some people who know the law exists and deliberately choose not to comply with it, as there is in any industry or any walk of life. But I think a lot of it is about raising awareness, helping people to comply, knowing that if we've got that good quality accommodation in Cornwall, that's good for Cornwall PLC as a whole.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that the message from that one is, going back to what we said earlier, if you are having a head on a bed in anything that you own,
yeah,
you've got to start looking at the rules and the regulations, and the best place to go to start with is to you. Is there a link from the sector page to the Pink Book?
We link to the Pink Book all the time. We link to the Pink Book, we link to PASC, we link to Visit Cornwall, who are another good source of information and support. We post anything. Sue, myself and Sue and other members of the committee and other sector members, if they come across something which is of interest, they'll post it. And it just means that you can keep yourself up to date.
Okay.
If it's really important, we do an at everyone so that everyone hopefully sees it. But that's what we try to do. We try to post something every day that might be of interest if you're in the tourism business.
Now, another thing we discussed, there is a tourism conference coming up. What is that? When is it? And is that something that listeners should be looking at?
Well, I'm hoping you've got the dates in front of you, because literally it was announced yesterday. Visit Cornwall are running a tourism conference in January. I think it's the 15th and 16th.
Yeah.
It'll be in Truro. It's the Alverton Hotel, I believe, if my memory serves me right.
That's right.
It's open to members of Visit Cornwall and non-members. there's a discounted rate for non-members, and it's a discounted rate for members, sorry, and for non-members it's £55 for a ticket. I think it's £37.50 for £39.50 for Visit Cornwall members.
Is that per day?
That's per day. It's over 2 days. Literally, it came out yesterday. I haven't even had the chance to post it onto Sector, but will do as soon as we finish here this morning. It's got some good keynote speakers. The first day, it's talking about the industry, in its broadest sense, and the second day we'll be talking about marketing and the help for smaller businesses. I would suggest everyone, well, firstly join Sector, then you can get the link to it, but have a look at that conference. I think it's going to be really excellent. We're talking about some really high quality keynote speakers, people that are able to really talk about the industry in the broadest sense. And this is your chance to go along, to hear from those industry experts, to meet other people in person, face to face, which is something we haven't been able to do for some time in these big venues. And you'll really get a lot out of it. I would commend everybody to really consider going along. Even if you're not actually in the industry and you're just thinking about joining the industry, it's just a good place to go.
Okay, that's excellent. Okay, and I'm going to move on now to put your other head on. And your other head is?
I'm a Looe Development Trust trustee.
And a little bit of news that you've leaked out to me about the skate park in Looe. So,
as I came in to do an interview with you many moons ago to talk about the possibility of a skate park in Looe. There's a group that's been working very hard on this, led by Looe Development Trust, including the Boundless Trust and Looe Town Council. It's a long and slow process because it has to be. We have to make sure we take everybody with us and that we dot all the I's and cross all the T's, because the most important thing is that this skate park happens. That's the key in all of this. It's not just a skate park, it's a place where young people will congregate, where it's almost like an outdoor youth club. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be in the Millpool car park. As you come in through the entrance, if you look to your left, just between on the car park and between that and the slipway there, it's going to run there and parallel to the road. It's a modest size, it's not huge. It's going to be a street style circuit, which basically means quite low jumps and flips. But again, this was designed by the youth of Looe. The youth skaters of Looe wanted this.
So it's what they want.
It's what they wanted. We've designed what they wanted, what they asked for. And we've put in a pre-application into planning. We're just waiting to hear from that. We have our fingers very firmly crossed that that will go well and that we will be able to put in a full planning application in the spring next year. The plan being that once that full application goes in, Looe Development Trust and the partners will also run open sessions so that everyone in Looe can come along, see the plans, tell us what they think. We really will need the community to get behind us. We will need people to make positive comments about it. And then once we've got planning permission, then the not so easy task, but the task of raising the funds to build it starts.
Okay. But for those people who think we haven't heard anything about the skate park for a long time, it's still going, it's still en route, it's still on way.
It is very much still alive. These big projects, particularly where you're talking about land that's owned by Cornwall Council, Looe Town Council and Cornwall Council have been working really hard, diligently in partnership to sort this out, to make sure that we can have the land, because obviously that's important. We don't want to go off at a tangent and get diverted. We want to just go slowly. This is how you bring in these projects. It's not by rushing in and raising money and raising expectations and then nothing happens. What you have to do is work away slowly in the background and chip away at each issue. As an issue comes up, you need to deal with it so you can move on. And that's what we've been doing. We've all been working very hard. So whilst I accept people haven't heard lots about it, it is still very live. Okay, well,
Kim, thank you so much for coming to see me. If I can just reiterate, anybody that wants any information about what we've talked about this morning, first port of call is the members sector group on Facebook,
It absolutely is.
And there's lots of links from that, and you can go from there with that. Thank you ever so much again for doing that. And I'm going to play us out with your little advert.
Oh, thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you so much.
You.
Bye-bye.
Are you involved in tourism in South East Cornwall? Do you find the industry rules and regulations a huge headache? We are Sector, South East Cornwall's Tourism Association, and we are here to help you negotiate the maze of red tape and worry faced by accommodation providers. We've been supporting tourism for more than 50 years, providing free advice and guidance to our members locally. Why not join our sector members' Facebook page and let us keep you up to date with the latest tourism issues and to help you network with business leaders in your field. For further free advice and guidance, contact Kim Spencer on Looe 240 685 or Sue Jewell on Liskeard 320 880. Sector, supporting the tourism industry.